Good evening and welcome to the Gold Goats and Guns Hour here on YouTube and DLive. My name is Sal Luongo. It is Friday. What day is it? 8/23, August 23rd, 2019. I hope you're all having a great time tonight. I hope you're all having a great day. It's kind of cool. It's kind of strange out there. Been a hell of a week, to put it mildly. And tonight, I think we're going to talk about Trump and Xi and all this stupid trade stuff and how that's going to affect the central banks and what Mark Carney said today and all of this stuff. I think it's all kind of important and it's all kind of, well, it's all kind of crazy, to be honest with you. But that being said, you can follow my work over at tomluongo.me. You can also follow me at moneyandmarkets.com. You can also find me over at Strategic Culture. You can follow me on Twitter at TFL1728. And you can support this channel, my work, my life, my family, my goats by subscribing to my Patreon over at patreon.com/goldgoatsandguns, where you can sign up for the Gold Goats and Guns investment newsletter, where I try and tie all this politics stuff up into a cohesive, not only portfolio strategy, but philosophy for how you should approach all of your work. So, all right, let's do this. This should be fun. Good evening to everybody who's already made it into the chat. Trump, Powell, Xi, the Fed, Jackson Hole, Mark Carney. Big day in the markets. And to be honest with you, I was away from my desk for most of the last couple of days. I've got some news that I'll be laying out publicly probably Sunday for the weekly market report. But I'm not quite sure I can go public with it yet. So I'm not going to say what it is tonight. It's good news. Excellent news. But it's also had me distracted for a couple of days while I deal with some stuff business-wise and everything else. So that being said, what happened today? Well, we woke up and China said, hey, we're putting more tariffs on you guys because, you think putting tariffs on us willy-nilly is a good thing. We're going to do the same thing. And we know, Trump, that you're actually in a much more precarious position than we are because you're facing an election in just over 14 months. And Trump did not respond well to that. The Jackson Hole meeting, the annual convocation of central bankers, or they who think they run the world because they're too dumb to realize that it's actually the Eurodollar markets that run the world, get together in Jackson Hole to explain to everybody just what the central bankers are thinking and what their plans for us are for the rest of the year. It's kind of like the Transnational Politburo gets together in Jackson Hole and decides on the next 5-year plan. Because that's what they do. So, in Jackson Hole every year is an interesting problem because sometimes it's completely uneventful and other times it's like it is today, where Jerome Powell really tried to make things uneventful and Donald Trump can't let go of the remote long enough to, actually sign legislation and do his fucking job as president, to complain about the job that the Fed is doing because he, the paranoid narcissist that he is, believes that the Fed is trying to undercut his best economy ever. Now, his best economy ever is just a bunch of freaking government spending and some short-term stimulus from tax cuts and tax holidays. That's already in trouble, and it's in trouble because he got a weaker dollar early on, and now he's having to deal with a stronger dollar, and he doesn't like the stronger dollar because Trump's a mercantilist. Trump fundamentally has a 17th century view of trade, and he really does believe that the only way America becomes richer is by selling stuff to other people. Trump fundamentally believes that trade is a zero-sum game. This is why he's an absolute, complete, and utter economic ignoramus. He does not believe in win-wins. He doesn't. Look at the way he negotiates with Russia. Look at the way he negotiates with the Palestinians, with Iran, Syria, Ukraine, the EU, everybody. Nothing is a win-win. Everything is, I have to win, and in order for me to win, you have to lose. Or if you won the trade, then I had to lose. That's the way he sees the world. You have to realize this. You cannot understand Donald Trump if you do not understand that very basic fundamental fact. And that makes him an idiot. It doesn't make him just an idiot. It makes him an heir to the throne of the kingdom of idiots. Because unfortunately, he's president. And it's completely and utterly sad for him to think he's going to run the world economy this way. And then everybody who doesn't do what he wants him doesn't want them to do, he doesn't, everybody who doesn't, what's the word I'm looking for, bow down to the God Emperor's fucking edicts, for Christ's sake, he just then turns around and sanctions them or throws or deploys the U.S. military against them or does some other damn thing. It's like, what are you doing? You can't do this. And it's absolutely, it's absolutely crazy. And Xi's been trying to tell him this for years now, for 2 years, and they will not listen. Okay? So he's putting maximal pressure on everybody ahead of the G7 because he's trying to remake the world order in his own image, in a way that he thinks is advantageous to the United States. Some of it may actually work, but most of it is just terrible. Most of it is, all it's going to do is increase the amount of uncertainty and insecurity around the world. I was reading the blog by Martin Armstrong the other day. He said, we have more $100 bills in circulation today than we have singles in circulation. You want to know why? Because all those $100 bills are stuffed in mattresses overseas as people are scared to death of being without dollars in a currency crisis. The strong dollar, Donald Trump, has nothing to do with the Fed. And because you see the central banks and their interest rates as some kind of competition. Well, if the ECB lowers interest rates, and we don't need to lower interest rates. Well, they have lower interest rates than we are, so that means they can lend at lower rates than we can. So therefore they're winning and we're losing. That's literally what his tweet storm was this afternoon. But it doesn't matter. But he, completely ignores the fucking fact that the Germans tried to sell 30-year debt at a negative yield and failed because there weren't any fucking buyers. And people are buying German 30 years at minus 1.17% by minus 17 basis points because they're scared to death of what this fucking orange dotard is going to do tomorrow. He's going to wake up on the wrong side of the bed, forget to take his fucking Adderall, and then change the fucking rules again. No one can do business under these conditions. And every day he wakes up and does something else to make the world unstable. And yet complains that everybody's against him. He has become completely and utterly paranoid. He's a fucking narcissist, and now he's become a paranoid schizophrenic. So no wonder he hasn't fired John Bolton yet. Misery loves company. I said 2 weeks ago in a blog post, by God, man, Trump has become such a fucking cartoon. He's making me defend the Fed. I'm an Austrian economist, for Christ's sake. I'm an anarcho-libertarian, and here I am having to defend the Fed for not lowering interest rates and feeding the frickin' fire. Because if Trump gets his way and either intervenes directly in the Forex markets and overwhelm the Fed and try and undercut the Fed, or forces the Fed through political pressure to cut rates to 0% again in order for him to get 2 quarters worth of growth in GDP so that he can get reelected and burn the whole fucking thing down. He's going to have a bonfire on his hands in his second term in office. It's going to make him the most hated man in history. And it'll be his fault. Tom says global negative yielding bonds are going insane. A few weeks ago, it was 15 trillion. Last week, 17 trillion. No. A few weeks ago, it was 10 trillion. I know. We talk about it every day on our private Slack forum. When you talk a few weeks ago, no. 15 trillion was last week, dude. That's just so early August. 10 trillion. That's so fucking July. Or June. It's retarded. Yeah, if I'm defending the Federal Reserve, shit's weird. I mean, it's not like the Fed is good, but dude, 2.5% is not a freaking, is not a bonfire. It's not. He just sees this as, he just sees the Clinton, Larry Summers, Goldman Sachs crowd, all that. He just sees all those guys lining up, getting cheap money overseas, and then using that to buy what they want. And he sees, and he's just envious of this. And he thinks, well, you know, if we lower interest rates, it'll spur growth. No, it won't spur growth. It doesn't spur growth at debt saturation. Donald Trump, no one has ever sat down Donald Trump and in 20 minutes explained the Austrian business cycle to him. Because if they did, then, you know, he'd stop trying to put casinos in Greenland. Though I will say that might have been the greatest tweet of all time. I will say that. But seriously, dude's lost it. Like, he's completely fucking lost it. And he's now just looking like a raving lunatic. And he's making the Democrats' impeachment argument against him really strong. Because, like, you know, yeah, okay. I mean, I don't want fucking Pelosi or anything, but shit. At this point, even she's not that batshit crazy. Jesus fucking Christ, did you hear what I just said? Like those damn Psalms, they're so depressing. Oh my God. Thank God I got gold and silver. I mean, seriously, guys. Seriously, people. Think about this. Powell should not commit to more rate cuts. Powell should hold his water, keep rates at 2.25% for as long as he can. Period. The world needs to deleverage, and it needs to deleverage badly. You know, somebody asked me today, one of my regulars asked me today, am I a blow the whole thing up quick or allow it to, you know, peter out over time kind of guy? I'm like, not really either. All right? I just want the market to tell me what rate at which, you know, we should fail. And the more these guys try to hold on to power, the more they try to hold on to asset prices at these levels, the quicker they're going to burn the whole thing down in a massive conflagration. So better that the central bankers just stop. They just stop intervening. Just leave things the way they are and let the markets go, and just do that for a little and let the markets deal with that. And that's kind of what Powell's trying to do here. He's trying to say, look, I don't know what the fuck to do here. This is unprecedented and this is crazy. I'm going to do nothing because we still have full employment. There's still capital pouring into the United States. We don't need to lower interest rates. Lowering the short end of the yield curve is not going to, lowering the borrowing rate is not going to change anything. Well, I mean, it will. It'll create a whole bunch of liquidity, which will, and not even really that, but it's not going to stop the capital inflow into the United States. It's not going to stop inflow into the dollar. Okay? It's not. Trump, they could cut rates to zero tomorrow. It wouldn't matter. Got news for you. The 30-year is still going to drop. Yeah, so the markets are a bunch of goats. That was not even a particularly good goat impression. That's Nubians. That's what they sound like when they're, you know, when they want to be milked. Yeah, it's really funny. So, we are in the Matrix. Yeah, you think? All right. Honestly, Powell should just do nothing here. Let the market freak out. Because if the market stopped freaking out, because you see, eventually the market will stop freaking out. Eventually, European bond yields are going to reverse. See, this is the part that Trump doesn't understand. He thinks, oh, this is just going to keep going. Oh, the ECB is going to drop interest rates, and they're going to print more money, and they're going to do this, and they're going to bail out all the banks, and they're going to, God damn it, and we're not going to be able to compete with these people because I'm a fucking idiot, and I don't know how to, like, sell stuff from Idaho to Missouri and back again and think that that's not good GDP, and, like, we need to export more. No, he wants to export more fucking oil is what he wants to do. Okay? Because that's the only way you can create fucking jobs. And he comes out and says, well, we don't need China anymore. We'd be better off without them. Oh, we'd be better off without global trade. Yeah, that's why Trump wants Greenland. It's the rare earths, and there may be something else about it. It's also, I think it's tectonically stable. So you may want it for a space force. Oh, by the way. Did I see Steve Bannon and Kyle Bass? No, what did they do now? Did they make a movie together? Bomb the South China Sea. Of course. It's all about China. But with those two, it's all about China. Those guys are it's all about China. China's evil. It's like it's what's insane is that they just refuse to take responsibility for the fact that we have sold ourselves down the river. The MAGA crowd refuses to believe this. They want to be victims. They don't want to take responsibility, shoulder the load, and fix the fucking problem. They want to be victims and blame that guy. Because it's easier to blame that guy and be right-wing fucking red dotard hat wearing motherfuckers, SJW motherfuckers, than actually buck up, get down to fucking brass tacks and fix the fucking country. Because that's what needs to be done. You want to fix this fucking country? Fix this fucking country. But you can't fix this country. You can't fix California. Well, maybe the leprosy will take care of it. You know, they've got bubonic plague, typhus, and leprosy. California's done. We need to build the fucking walls around that goddamn place. Same thing with New York. De Blasio's turning that friggin' place into a John Carpenter movie, for fuck's sake. Everybody wants to be a victim now because it's easier to be a victim than it is to actually buck up, shoulder your responsibilities, and do some fucking work. Period. And by the way, those of us who buck up, bear the responsibility, and do the fucking work, guess what? We'll win in the end. When this is all over and they are all screaming, it's your fault, it's your fault, I want my Gibbs, it's your fault, God damn it, give me my Gibbs. And that's what Trump's doing. Trump's out there every day blaming this guy, blaming that guy, blaming this one, blaming Powell, blaming Xi, blaming Merkel, blaming this one, blaming that one. It's all their fault. It's not the U.S.'s fault. The U.S. is blame us. Our farmers are great. Our military is great. Our police are great. Every American is great except for the ones that sold us out down the fucking river. The ones that suck off the government tit every day, that we spend $1 in $4 of GDP in this country on people sucking off the government tit every fucking day. Sorry, narco-capitalist. Y'all are fucking tax thieves. Fucking retarded. Build a wall around Houston. Yeah, that too. It's sad. It's crazy. It's insane. It's idiocracy. And it's gone. Without free trade. What do you mean by without free trade? We don't have free trade. Midnight Sun. We don't have free trade. Trade deals between countries is not free trade. NAFTA is not a free trade deal. TTIP is not a free trade deal. None of them are free trade deals. The WTO isn't a free trading organization. It's a series of rules that countries set up to impede progress, to impede business between sovereign individuals and sovereign businesses who happen to reside in these ridiculous fucking geographical fictions we call countries, that have morons like Donald Trump and Angela Merkel and Emmanuel Macron and Shinzo Abe and Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin and all the rest of them. They're all fucking idiots. Some of them are less idiotic than others, but they're all idiots. Because they all believe in the Bismarckian nation state, this whole fucking insane thing. You should not have any barriers to do business with somebody else because Donald Trump said it's not fair. Fuck Donald Trump. Go do your business. Donald Trump doesn't like the fact that our companies share technological secrets with China. There's technological secrets that they built. That's their private property, their sovereign property. But because Donald Trump says, no, we have the right to regulate that because the government has the right to regulate that, that's stealing. They're stealing wealth from the American people by selling it to the Chinese. Are you fucking insane? What kind of a goddamn solipsistic, ridiculous piece of fucking intellectual shit do you have to be to believe that fucking nonsense? It's your thing. It's your life. It's your time. It's your capital. Who fucking cares if Intel sells chip designs to the Chinese? It's dumb. It's not free trade. The biggest problem here that the right has to get over themselves with is this idea that these free trade agreements are free trade. They're not. They're managed trade. They're the exact opposite of free trade. They're corporatism. They're everything the left complains about. Because all they do is set up the rules that allow these companies to win, and these countries to win, and these people to lose. And in that respect, Trump is absolutely right. Trump should be getting his ass out of all these trade deals and just say, no, we're not going to trade anymore. I mean, yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. But the trade deal, per se, that he's trying to get isn't going to change or encourage any of this. Because no one has any incentive to change in his direction because he hasn't cleaned up our business at home. You clean this up at home, everything else takes care of itself. The trade deals themselves become unworkable over time, not because he's pushing things in typical baby boomer fashion at 5 fucking times the speed that they need to, that the markets want to adjust at. He wants them done on his time frame while he's president, so that the narcissistic fucking retard that he is, he can take all the goddamn credit for it. When just clean up our shit at home and let the market take care of it. And it may take 10 years, 15, 20 years to change the dynamic in the right direction. But so the fuck what? Trump wants it done in 18 months. And everybody's saying no. American businesses are saying no. American taxpayers are saying no. American business, everybody's saying no, don't do this. And guess what? He's doing it anyway. Why? Because Donald Trump can do no wrong. Because like every other fucking narcissistic asshole has ever had power in this world, man can do no wrong. John Barth. Doesn't matter that you think you're the hero. By God, douchebag, you're the villain. But the villain never sees himself as a villain. The villain always sees himself as a hero. Always. And everywhere. The bagel flinging dragon. So like this, Tom, can we just stop beating around the bush and say what these insane people want to do, which is to start a war, and so that from the ashes they can take control on a global scale? They already think they have control on a global scale. Keep buying gold, keep buying Bitcoin. You'll be fine. And that's of course what's happening. What do you think all these wars, the wars have already started. They're all over the place. What they don't want is an actual world war where 2/3 of the population is destroyed, because that does away with 2/3 of the fucking tax cows. Oh, we can't have that. I mean, we can kill a couple 100 million, brown people in Africa. Fuck that. Fuck them. They don't matter. Free trade is just free trade. It means I call somebody up and say, hey, when somebody calls me up and says, do you want to buy that? You're selling this thing. I'd like to buy it. And I go, sure, here you go. It's free trade. Well, but the government says I can't buy it from you. Well, FedEx doesn't check the package, so I'll put it in the package and mislabel it and I'll send it to you anyway. Okay, cool. Now Trump wants FedEx wants Trump literally to have FedEx, UPS, and the Postal Service check every package from China for fentanyl. The guy's insane. Without trade deals, wouldn't tariffs be higher? Only because the governments are fucking in the way. Governments should not have the ability nor the power to regulate trade. Governments shouldn't be, that means that also governments shouldn't be in the business of printing national currencies. Get government out of printing national currencies and they don't need to defend them. If they weren't printing national currencies and issuing debt in order to fund their deficits, in order to fund their own operations, we wouldn't need to have more currency. We wouldn't need to have more debt. They wouldn't need to have to try and manage this trade and, oh my God, and balance their accounts. None of that accounting would matter. Governments wouldn't have accounting. If you imagine a world under a Bitcoin standard or a crypto standard where the governments aren't involved at all in the currency schema, and they had to just live off their taxes. Because that's the way they funded themselves before central banking. It's this era of central banking that's the problem. Trump is right when he says things like, is Powell our bigger enemy? Who's the bigger enemy, Powell or Xi? It's obviously Powell, but it's not for the reasons that Donald Trump thinks. It's not for the fact that Powell's got the friggin' interest rate set 100 basis points too high. It's because the bankers are the problem. But he's not going to change this dynamic. He's not going to take the bankers down. Okay? It's not going to happen. They will just kill him first. And they will make it look like a suicide, and the media will let it go. And actually, by the time he's done, everybody will cheer. I'm at the point now where I'm like, yeah, dude, you could go away. It would be fine. Just leave the fucking scene. Just stop. Stop being Donald Trump for 5 fucking minutes. The world would be a better place. And this is none of this has anything to do with any of the. I mean, this is even beyond his foreign policy blunders at this point. This is actually about basic everyday economics and trade function and all the rest of it. It's complete nonsense. All of this shit needs to go away. We're on the verge of a monetary revolution the world hasn't ever seen before. These guys are holding on to what they have with all their might, right? With every ounce of their being, because they don't want to give up the power. They don't want to give up the ability to regulate. They don't want to give up any of that stuff. I get it. I understand it. I don't agree with it. And so we have to manage this as best as we can. So got news for you. The dollar is going to keep rising no matter what Trump tries to do. If Trump intervenes in the FX markets, he'll get his numbers down. He got the euro to close above $1.11 this afternoon. Saved its ass for another week. Can't manipulate against the trend that's in place. The trend in place is dollar hoarding. And that's not going to change with 50 basis point cut by the Federal Reserve. It might delay the inevitable for 2 or 3 months, but it's not going to change the trend. Because the trend is there's a massive synthetic shortage of dollars out there. And if you lower interest rates, you're just encouraging people to borrow in dollars and creating an even bigger synthetic short at even lower interest rates and flying higher and higher and faster into coffin corner. Eventually you will crash anyway. It doesn't matter. Trump just doesn't want it to happen on his watch. He wants it to happen after the election. That's why he's so fucking angry. And after 3 years of Russiagate, he's now completely freaking paranoid that everybody's out to get him. He's not wrong, but that's not why Powell's doing what he's doing. El Vaquero reminds us that prohibition of drugs leads to concentrated forms of whatever is prohibited. Very, very true. THC in weed was around 1960 was around 5%. Now it's around 13%. Fentanyl is also a symptom of this. Of course, so is crack. Cocaine wasn't good enough. Cocaine wasn't dense enough. They needed to make cocaine into smaller and tighter, easier to transport packages. It's why we still use oil, energy density. It's an incredibly dense source of energy that we can transport easily and around in relatively safe manner. That's why oil is awesome. I mean, oil is awesome. As a chemist and as a physicist, oil is fucking amazing. Oh, are you saying you're getting tired of winning? Trump said we'd get tired of it. No, I'm not getting tired of winning. I'm getting tired of losing. Do you think these neocons, Narxio says, do you think these neo-lib psychopaths really think we're going to have a viable planet if they get us into World War III? I don't think they care. Tension, I would hate to see what Trump's idea of losing is. Donald Trump wants to go from zero to hero. Well, he's a classic, small dick kind of Fire up the nuclear-powered printing presses and I'll break the trend. Yeah, okay. Hyperinflation, here we come. Hyperdeflation right after. Hyperinflation at 6, hyperdeflation at 11. News at 6, hyperinflation. News at 11, hyperdeflation. Oh, and absolutely. Everything's more, all the drugs are more addictive. It's all terrible. All terrible. All terrible. What is the White House smoking to make them think that cryptocurrencies are used to buy illicit drugs? Not much, Jonathan. They are being used to buy illicit drugs. They're also being used to buy a lot of other things as well. They're helping North Korea buy oil. Oh, by the way. But at the same time, they're also helping people hedge against Trump and his insanity. The powers that want the folks to buy Bitcoin, and when a few countries change over to crypto, then bang, all crypto gone. They will use the Zeus 1 virus to wipe the system out. Okay, Carl. Bagel flinging dragon. They couldn't stop me from selling my technology to the Martians. The Martians love the purchase. And then now they can travel from galaxy to galaxy now. FYI, THC is around 22% now. Holy shit. This is why I don't smoke weed. Because, when I was a kid, okay, I probably was pretty cool. I mean, I watched people get baked. I've been in a room where I've gotten contact highs and the whole 9 yards. And never actually put lips to joint or not. I've been around enough stone people to know that everybody, that people I like a lot, turn into complete assholes when they're stoned. And I'm like, not really seeing it, So, or how about this? I'm already such an asshole. I don't need pot to make me an even bigger asshole. Otherwise, I'd have no friends. All right. The opioid crisis is very sad. Don't get me. I read Dope Sick recently. Very sobering stuff about Appalachia. My wife's family is from that region, Southern Ohio. Classic Appalachia. Gutted. The whole place is like The Walking fucking Dead. I mean, absolutely, it's like The Walking Dead. And it's terrible. I mean, it's absolutely terrible. And I understand where Trump's coming from. And I know he needs wins. He needs to continue to constantly blame people for what the problem is and all of these. But, it's like he asks Xi Jinping to go ahead and stop the fentanyl trade. Like he really honestly believes that the premier of China can stop the fentanyl trade. Like in 6 months. Like he really believes that Jinping has that much control over the world. Like Trump thinks that he has that much control over the United States policy, which he doesn't. I mean, he really does have this kind of dictator's mindset. It's kind of scary when you really start to break down where he's moved, where his rhetoric has moved. His rhetoric in recent weeks and in particular, has really moved into very dangerous territory psychologically. Don't like what I'm seeing. I'm seeing someone who's paranoid, has delusions of dictatorial powers, all these things, and all this crap. And he's making all of those fucking shit libs look smart and look prophetic. The problem is, it's like everything else. If they weren't such shit libs, he wouldn't be in this state. Because he wouldn't be so goddamn paranoid. Our corporates are like The Walking Dead, so as above, so below. Very good, all the marbles. Excellent comment. Excellent comment. Tom, have you read Hillbilly Elegy? Very good book about that part of America and what's been happening there. No, I haven't read it. Do you guys think I have time to read books? I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but I get asked all the time, like, have you read this book? Or what books do you recommend? I'm like, I don't have time to read books. I barely have enough time to read articles and digest the information so that I can write the stuff and produce the content that I produce. Like, I've been rereading the First Chronicles of Thomas Covenant now for like 3 months. I mean, and most of that I read on vacation. I read like 3 pages a day and then I fall asleep. Because by the time I'm done, at the end of the day, my eyes don't want to look at words anymore. They're done looking at words. So it's really, really, I honestly, it's a good thing that most modern board games are all being developed to be language neutral. They're all pictograms and iconography on the tiles and stuff, so they don't have to fucking read anything. I get a new game, I don't even want to read the manual anymore. All I want to do is like hand it to somebody, say, teach me how to play this fucking thing, so I don't have to read anything anymore. I mean, I do enough reading that my eyes literally cross. But that said, y'all are fantastic at feeding me information that I need. And Has Epstein been successfully scrubbed from the American consciousness? It's looking that way. CBD oil and old weeds are great for pain, and the new stuff, don't trust it. Fair enough. Thank you. I mean, I know people swear by CBD oil. I mean, absolutely swear by it. In truth, Xi does have a huge amount of power to shut down the drug trade. Thing is, it would move and deprive the country of cash, and China's revenge for Western support of the opium wars. Well, there is that too. Joe Elf says, all presidents feel as dictatorial as Trump. Most are smart enough to shut up every now and then. Oh. I do think, Star Trooper, that the DNC is not going to let Tulsi Gabbard in the next debate because she, of course, didn't get to 2% in the polls because the polls were all rigged to ensure that she didn't get to 2%. So, as above, so below. When Trump says he's chosen, it starts to get really scary, and I'm beginning to wonder about his sanity. Yeah, I think he's only half kidding when he said things like that. I really do. Hasn't Huawei showed off a new AI chip that is faster than anything out there? He must be really happy. Trump must be really happy about that. I didn't see it, but if he did, if you've got information on that, Thordoom, please send me a DM. Put a link down below in the comments or whatever. That would be great because Huawei kicks ass. By the way, as a company, they kick ass, and they're, Trump's. I'm at the point now where I almost want to buy I almost want to recommend people just buy every stock that Trump bashes. From China and from Russia and the rest of them, so buy those because they're going to do really well. You need to make the Gold Goats and Guns Kush brand. Nice. Very nice. I was on Sputnik and RT. I haven't had a chance to check them all afternoon. Thordium, I'm sorry. I've been really busy all day. So I literally got home at like 7:30, made myself a cup of coffee, put the slides together, chatted with Camille for a couple minutes, and I was still late getting on tonight. So seems impossible that Tulsi can't clear 2% in the DNC polls. I agree. It's obvious that the polls were completely rigged. But, what else is new? The DNC is not going to give up control of the party. They're just not. They're not going to cede control of it to Tulsi Gabbard and Bernie Sanders. They're not going to cede control of it to Ilhan Omar and AOC and the rest of those guys. I refuse to call them the squad. I mean, more like the cunts. Come on. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Like, the common turns. Come on. So, have I ever tried bulletproof coffee or a close approximation thereof? I have. I didn't like it. I used to make. Remember, we used to make our own goat. We used to get our own goat milk, right? We used to raise dairy goats and then spin that for cream. And I would put my producer's cream in my coffee. And my producer's cream was about 56% butterfat. So it's pretty much bulletproof coffee. I've tried it. It's not bad. Not really for me. It's not getting there. So, but I drink my coffee black anyway for the most part anymore. So. I want a fat bomb in the morning. I'm at the point now where I just make a couple of eggs. Is Bagel Flinging Dragon Ryu? Holy shit. Did you get the, I didn't know that was you, dude. Like, I was wondering where Ryu was. So, we haven't had election integrity since electronic voting machines. We haven't had election voting since 1798. Elections have all been rigged in one way or the other. The question is whether the cheating is so bad to actually influence the outcome. The Epstein case is all over the nest. Screw the corporate media, and we the people understand. Watch Rick Sanchez. He's all over Epstein's murder. Yeah, that's true. Rick has been doing a good job on that. What's with Trump breaking all these nuclear treaties? Well, the United States has been building the weapons that we want to be able to deploy, and we want to be able to deploy them in such a way that we can deploy them against China. And we're trying to get the Russians to sign on to this so that we can create a trilateral thing. Remember, at the end of the day, the neocons want to destroy the people who are saying no to them. And they're not going to stop until they're either removed from power or those places are removed from the face of the earth. Those are the stakes. They're ideologues, they're zealots, they're commies. they're commies. Netanyahu, Kushner, Bolton, Pompeo, these guys are all commies. I mean, they may not want to control the fucking means of production, but they want to control the means of production. If Tulsi Gabbard somehow got into the Democratic nomination, wouldn't the neo-libs draft Egg McMuffin to run against her as a spoiler? Of course. Not that guy, I mean, but somebody like him, yes. Tulsi Gabbard hit 2% in a couple dozen polls, just not the ones arbitrarily chosen by the DNC. Meaning Freedom Fox, the ones controlled by the DNC. Awesome. Hell, okay, so I can just call you Ryu. Got it. All right. Since the founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence. Exactly. That's when the last good election was. Since Chicago was founded. I was going to go to Chicago first, but that was like too fucking recent. Like Daley in the 1940s? No, fuck that. We got to go way back. You know, there was this thing called Lincoln versus Douglas. Come on. The 60 kiloton warheads on Tomahawk missiles, yeah. The Q-Tars have claimed a dozen different times that Bolton's exit was imminent. Yeah. Because, you know, political horoscoping. On more serious notes, what's the deal with your insight onto China lending Turkey $1 billion? It's awfully small. If it's a bailout or a help to their current FX situation, it's not very much money. I don't see. I don't know. Not much. This much tranche. Let's put it that way, because I think China has been funneling money into Turkey pretty regularly. Sayanovich. Mark Shear says, look, fault lines have been all over the Epstein murder. Also, Whitney Webb is all over it. We ain't forgetting. The Mossad is all over this, and they need to be exposed. More power to all of them. More power to every one of them involved in that. They are doing truly yeoman's work. If they wanted to command economy without owning, if they want to command economy without owning the means of production, they're fascists. Fascists, communists. Like, so Trotsky was a fascist? Because it's about the permanent revolution thing more than it's about the economic system. Okay? It's about the mindset more than it is about it's about specification, not necessarily implementation. Okay? That's why I call them commies, because Trotsky was a commie, and they're all fucking Trotskyites. My great-great-great-great-grandfather lived in the second house built in Chicago. I apologize for my ancestors' role in founding that place. You're forgiven, Alpha Caro. Truly. Trump is somehow awfully quiet about sandal-wearing Yemeni Houthis shooting down his beautiful drone. Not a word about it. I wonder why. Also, everybody's really silent about the Houthis blowing the fucking crap out of a 1 million barrel per day Saudi plant in Saudi oil field 750 miles from their stronghold with technology no one knew they had. I'm sorry, I have to laugh. And then the fucking Iranians come out 2 days later, say, "Oh yeah, we've homegrown our own anti-missile system. That's even better than the fucking S-300s." Yeah, it's just really. I just think it's really funny. I mean, watching the Saudis and Trump and Israel get outmaneuvered, and all they can do is fulminate and commit war crimes. I'm telling you, the retribution in the Middle East by the people who wind up winning is going to be epic. The Saudis are going to get strung up by their toenails. Everybody around them is cutting deals to try and save their skins before this thing can fucking implodes on them completely. Trump is losing his freaking mind every day. The whole deal of the century is falling apart. He's looking more and more like a fucking idiot and a mafia don rather than a president and a statesman. It's all bad. I mean, it's really all bad. And I frankly don't attribute any kind of like forethought of malice here on his part. I don't think he's that smart. I think he's instinctually brilliant on certain levels, but I don't think he's that smart, and I don't think he's that devious. I think he's just who he is, which is kind of a cheesy guy from Queens. Let me go back to some questions or some comments. What do I think about Mark Carney saying that we need a Libra style global currency? That was the last thing I was going to talk. That was part of my supposedly prepared remarks, and I didn't actually get to them. The plan has always been to replace the dollar with the SDR, basket of currencies. Now that we have cryptos and they have a better, more efficient system for the ledgers of all the transactions, all they're doing is morphing the SDR into stablecoin. Now, from the moment the Libra hit the marketplace or hit the public consciousness, I said that it was Facebook's application into the world of central banking. That has the backing of all the major financial payment settlers and all the major banks and everybody else, all the sources of euro dollars, offshore dollars, who would be setting that basket by markets. So you have to remember that it's always been the plan, because they've always known when this thing goes, it's going to be bigger than any one central bank can bail out. So now you got to start bailing out the central banks. And when you do that, you have to start using a central bank of central banks or some other way of inflating against a stable unit of account. Right? So it's very simple, guys. Buy the fucking shit out of gold. It's the only thing that makes any sense. I mean, and Bitcoin, obviously, but but fundamentally, if you don't own a lot of gold at this point in time, now's a good time. No better time than the present. And buy over time. Don't go in all in at one time. Buy one big tranche at 15.30 or whatever it's trading at today. Buy a little bit now, a little bit next month, a little bit next month. Just keep accumulating. Some days, some months you're going to buy on the dips, and some months you're going to buy the tops. Doesn't matter. It'll all wash out in the end. Just buy. You should be on a program. Everybody here, everybody listening to my voice should be on some kind of a gold buying program at this point. And, if you've got enough money, then you should also diversify into Bitcoin and silver as well. But I don't recommend silver at anywhere near the levels of that guys like Eric Sprott and others would recommend. They still see silver as some kind of monetary savior asset, and I just don't buy that bullshit anymore. I think silver is very close to being a commodity, and it's got one last hurrah, one last kick of the can, and then after that, it won't matter. All right. Collectivism, says Joe Elf. Definition thereof: as long as they agree with me, they can believe whatever they want. Bingo. Gotta respect the Houthis, says Tenjin. They're tough people to withstand so much and keep fighting and win. Don't forget the part about winning. Because in a war against the people that they're fighting against, surviving is winning. By the way, Tom, Authority asks, have I pledged my utmost loyalty to Israel? Trump sure demands that you do so. No. Rosneft announced that they're not using dollars anymore. They're using euros. It's a big move. They're very smart. But at the same time, I think I missed something. Hold on for a second. Bagel Fliggin. So Ryu, you're saying, do you think he just sees what's coming so he wants to get out, or is he not that smart? Who is the he in that sentence, Ryu? I'm not sure who the he is and who you're talking about. And answer that question for me, dude, and I'll give you the rest of it. Try and give you the answer. Do you think Trump could salvage a deal with North Korea, or do you think he's pissed off China so much it's impossible at this point? North Korea is done. North Korea and South Korea will organize their own reunification without John Bolton's consent. He will be angry. It'll probably happen in the next couple of years. A lot of companies are opening German bank accounts. Well, in anticipation of a no-deal Brexit, they certainly should be. Idlib seems to have been betrayed by the Turks, probably to tweak the U.S. Idlib seems to be falling relatively easily, comparatively. The first cauldron, I have an article that I'm tried to start working on over the last 2 days, the title of which is The First of Many Cauldrons Form in Syria. The Russian cauldron strategy was worked to a T the other day by the Syrian Arab Army and the Russians in northern Hama, where you've got the Syrians control down here, the bad guys control up here, and the cauldron is to do that, is to close the loop. And this is Khan Shaykhun up here, and they close the loop, and now they got a whole bunch of guys trapped, and then they'll collapse that cauldron, and then they'll take 2, and then they'll do the same thing, and they'll just do that all the way up Idlib. It won't be easy. It won't happen quickly, but it's going to happen. And now that they have fire control over the M5 highway, they may even try and push up the M5 highway, and they create another cauldron by going, by going straight up the north, going straight up the M5 highway, and then veering this way and creating a cauldron over here, breaking off that portion of the country. I was looking at the topo map of Syria to see where the next cauldron was going to form. I'm no military strategist, so I kind of just stopped pretending I know what the fuck I'm talking about. But you can see what's probably going to happen next. What's the end game in the Middle East? The Saudis imploding from within. The Saudis are going to have to cut a deal with China, Iran, and Russia for their own survival, because Trump is already in the process of betraying them. They've already betrayed themselves because they're inept. They're going to run a massive budget deficit. Oil's going to hit $40 a barrel, guys. I'm calling it now. In less than 30 days, I think, Iran is going to exit the JCPOA. Europe will have been proven to be completely useless. Guess what's next? Then they take the Russians up on their offer to launder 1 million barrels of oil a day through Russian oil traders, and that oil hits the market. That's game over. Also, I saw today on Sputnik, one of the few things I got a chance to read today, that Tehran and Damascus are in negotiations about building an oil pipeline across northern Iraq, along with the potential for rebuilding the existing oil pipeline that's been shut down since the Iran-Iraq war, or since the U.S. invaded Iraq in 2003, and get that flowing again. And both of those together would bring well over 1 million barrels a day into Syria, who desperately needs the oil. You can see what's coming next. Tom, oil is going to hit $35 a barrel. You're ahead of me, dude. Yep. That is the checkmate move, because that will crush the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That will crush the frackers out in Oklahoma and Texas. That will crush it'll crush everybody. It'll crush the pipeline operators in Texas. It'll crush all these these pipeline MLPs that build all this infrastructure, and then they won't have any oil to pass through it. I'm telling you, it's coming. It's a massive, massive implosion. That's what's coming. It's going to be great from an investor standpoint for the pipeline MLPs that survive the next downturn. Oh, you're going to be able to pick them up for fucking nothing, and they're going to be paying 9% yields. It's going to be great. But yeah, those new pipelines will have the potential for 3 million barrels, as long as Israel doesn't bomb the pipeline in Iraq. Well, I understand that, Brett Harris. At some point, Israel will be kept from doing so, because S-300s are cheap, and the crews to train them are also cheap, and the Russians have no problem building them, and neither do the Iranians have a problem building theirs. And it's obvious at this point that they know how to integrate those systems into each other. So Iraq's air defenses are going to get upgraded by the Iranians over the course of the next year. Book it. It's absolutely coming. The Prime Minister can declare a no-fly zone all he wants, but he's got to be able to defend it. El Vaccaro says the Saudi Arabians are going to have to make a food deal with the Russians also, because if they're not aligned with us, I guarantee the agricultural land they own in the U.S. is going to get taken. How much of the oil in the United States is viable? A lot of it. And not at $35 a barrel. Most of it isn't. Most of it's not viable, obviously, at $55 to $60 a barrel because they haven't been able to fucking generate any free cash flow in the aggregate as an industry ever. If Saudi Arabia falls into Israel's fucked. I don't say that with any amount of glee. I just say it as a matter of fact, and everybody knows it. Saudi Arabia's job was to bring the Gulf Cooperation Council, the GCC, together along with Egypt to form a security pact with Israel and the United States to then subjugate the Palestinians and push the Shias back and eventually reverse the gains made by Russia in Syria while they balkanize Iraq, Turkey, Syria, and Iran, and create Greater Kurdistan to control the fucking oil out there and leave the Arabs with the desert in between. That's what the plan was. Guys, that was the plan. That plan has failed. But guys like Bolton and Pompeo and the rest of them just refuse to believe it. Most of Canada is not viable at $40 either. Most of Canada has shut down. Western Canadian Select Crude has been trading at nearly $0 per barrel for a long time. Wonder what real estate in Trump Heights will be worth at that point? That's what the Shias are planning here. They're playing the long game. They know Israel's living on borrowed time because the United States can't stay in the Middle East forever. And once that happens, the Israelis are in trouble. So Netanyahu is a dummy. They went for broke here. They're going to lose. All right, it's we're almost done. I've had a long day. I've got a lot of work to do this weekend, so I need to get going. But let's remind everybody, including all the marbles who I know is interested. I do have a Discord server. There is I will put the link below. Hold on, let me get over to my Discord server. You guys can use it free will as you want. I check it pretty regularly. If you want to chat with me during the day or whatever, you can get there. But mostly we're going to use it for playing WoW Classic, the World of Warcraft Classic, which starts on Monday evening. So I'm trying to clear my deck so I have a couple of days where I can actually play a significant amount of WoW Classic. Y'all are enjoyed it. Franz, are you invited to the Discord server? Yeah, you can make a fool of yourself there if you want on multiple platforms. Go right ahead. I don't give a shit. Just, stay out of the WoW forums, okay? Just they're not for you unless you play WoW. So yeah, a bunch of you have already signed up. Go ahead and use it as you will. If you want to get a hold of me directly, that's a good way to do it. I've got Discord installed on my phone now, so I get updates there as well. If you want to pass me anything, pass me information, you can. That's probably the easiest way to do it. And again, if you want to play WoW, I'm going to make a server on. I'm going to make a guild on. Most likely, I've got characters on both PvE Eastern time zone servers. That would be Mankrik and Pagel. Most likely we'll wind up on Mankrik, but it's going to wind up being whichever one has the lower queue times. I think the first day or two are going to be fucking insane. Are just going to be insane. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. Best thing for us to do is obviously to coordinate. Okay. So will there be bagels? Dude, I went gluten free a long time ago, right after I learned how to make bagels, and I've been really sad ever since. So unfortunately, no, there will not be bagels. So. France, as long as you don't mind being called a commie on Discord as well. Fair enough. And we are going to be sick of winning. So you guys are more than welcome to do that so we can stay in touch on a regular basis. Yes, but France is our commie. Bring your own. No, it's BY. No. Our channel is BYOC. Bring your own commie. And, just don't insult him too much. Because, you don't want him to, feel bad. So, sad face. Sorry about that. Bring your own bagels. All right. So there it is. So you guys have a great evening. As always, if you can donate to this channel through Brave. I'm a verified partner on Brave on YouTube. My website, tomluongo.me, as well as Twitter. And if you haven't used Brave, Twitter through Brave, you should, because you'll see the little tip sign right there. Not that I've seen anybody actually use it yet. I should probably tip myself just to prove that it actually works. All right, that's it. You guys have a great night. We'll talk soon. Keep your stick on the ice.